just making sure everything's, yeah, it looks good. So what's going on, everybody? It's Throne Runner here, back again. Like I promised you guys very recently after my Destiny box opening, I said that we had some Thrones content coming down the pipe. I was just trying to schedule a time that myself and Dan from Kings of the North could get together and discuss this deck that he put me on. He kind of just told me about it, and I decided to do my best to make my own little flavor of it. And so far, it's been pretty successful in the test matches that I've played. If I recall correctly, I've only lost the one game thus far.
Awesome.
And it was a pretty rough loss, though. So let's not get too far ahead of ourselves yet.
Hey, it is Thrones, so those things happen.
That is very true. So I'm pretty excited to bring it to you and show you guys how it is. We're hoping to show you my version of the deck, card by card, as we usually do, and then discuss Dan's version of the deck. Sorry, because they are pretty different. I guess two different win conditions. And then kind of discuss the differences and changes that could be made and what we can include from the latest pack that was released this Thursday. So I'm going to give Dan a chance to introduce himself and his podcast, a little bit of self-promotion.
Hey guys, let me start by saying I have no class. Look at this.
Oh, man.
Wasn't it a 5-3 win like only a couple of minutes ago? Second off, Kings of the North is where you can find us. We actually have a website, kingsofthenorth.com. Kings in the North, let me say it properly. You can find us on Facebook. We're usually commenting, talking some shit on Facebook also. We have a Kings of the North podcast Facebook, and or we're on SoundCloud. We've only had 4 episodes so far, but our 4th episode, thanks to you guys, has just reached over 250 plays. So hey, I guess
Very
we're
nice.
saying something, right?
That's pretty good, man.
Yeah, man, I'm actually very happy. I'm happy people are enjoying the fact that we enjoy this game and we're having fun. So let's stay true to our roots because, you know, we drink and we sometimes know things. I'm going to open myself a beer. And just because I know you have no faith in the New York Giants, which are going to win tomorrow,
Oh,
I'm going to
man.
switch it up. And I also know you don't like the Lannisters, so I'm going to show off some of my tools, man. Just for you, buddy.
So much scum already. I love it.
You'll be looking at it for as long as this video plays.
I'm just
So
gonna
hopefully
turn
it's
your
fun.
camera off. That's what I should do. Just turn it off. But yeah, so we're gonna get started. For those who aren't aware, I'm not sure if I even said it yet, but the deck is a House Stark banner to Kraken. So a little bit different flavor for myself. I usually take the Kraken as my main house and try to figure things out there. But this was pretty intriguing, like I said, and I guess my style of play. So it was a very fun change for me. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. Like I said, that's House Stark, and I'm going to throw down the Banner of the Kraken. Quick word before we start, because of the way that we're doing this episode, we're streaming it, we're not pre-recording it. So at times the cameras might change a little bit, and that is not by design. It's just the limitations of Skype. So like I said, it's House Stark, Banner of the Kraken, and we're gonna get it Kraken. Terrible, I know. Anyhow,
So bad, I love it.
we're gonna go ahead and get started. I could probably crop the screen a little bit, but I'm gonna leave it as is for now. So the name of the deck doesn't really have a name on my part yet. I like to give them fancy names, makes it even more fun to play, but for now it'll just be Stark Kraken. So staple to basically any Stark deck as it stands is Arya Stark. I play the core set Arya. I really don't see any reason why anybody would want to play the latest version of Arya that's out yet. I mean, there's no real reason to do it. This Arya is a very strong still card. It's very cheap. Stealth and a military icon is always good to go. So I play 3 copies of that, and as we move forward, you'll start to see how and why she's useful. I don't know if you have any input, Dan.
I agree with most of what you said. Actually, the newest version of Arya is probably a good card. It's just that the core version is a great card. So right then and there, I mean, she's competing with something that's that much more better.
Hmm.
Most of my start decks, if not almost all of them, except for this one, play 3 copies of Area. This one I had to knock her down to 2.
Okay, you play two. Well, I went
Yes.
with three. The reason why I went with three is because of the fact that one, the stealth is very useful, and because I'm still going for more of the power rush type of win. This is a card that I want to see as soon as the game begins. It's something that you can get out easily in setup, although you shouldn't put it out in setup because her ability doesn't trigger. However, having 3 copies, if you are forced to play it in setup, you have a very good shot of drawing a dupe and getting her to fire off that way. So that is my reason behind going with three, but I'm sure Dan has
Agreed.
reasons as to why he would go with just two.
Yeah.
So moving forward, continuing with the ladies, we've got 3 copies of Asha, and you might wonder why. The reason why is because it's Asha. It's a Greyjoy deck. If I'm gonna ban her Greyjoy, it's automatically 3 copies of her until a better version or a different version of her comes out. But for the foreseeable future, I can't see anything getting better than this out of Greyjoy. Except if Night's Watch gets any more powerful than it is, and people start playing that more and more, where it's impossible to get an unopposed challenge off, then it kind of makes her useless aside from her stealth ability. But like I said, until that happens, it's an automatic 3-0 for me.
Um, Actually, you know what? Tweaking this deck and playing with it, like I say, I've been toying around with it for a while, so I'm actually happy I gave you that push in the right direction and got you to play something different. I've been a Greyjoy fan since the beginning, but right now I like and I feel Greyjoy's best as a banner,
Hmm.
which usually and for a long time until we got Victarion meant Asha, Asha, Asha.
Hmm.
I had her initially in my deck, which is more aggro as a 2 of,
Yep.
and realizing that I needed to make room, I shoved stuff around to make a third one, and Arya was kind of maybe one of the cards that got cut off. Although the cost slot isn't the same, they're both fighting with stealth and stuff like that, and I'm not as strong on the power icon as you are, more on the board presence.
Hmm.
I thought Asha gave me more, so you're right. Asha was a 3 of in my version also.
Very nice. Moving forward, we've got 2 copies of Bran Stark for me. I know that at least around here, most Stark players have the 3 of, and Dan has 3 fingers up. Um, yes, I can understand why you'd want to play three. Obviously, Brand continues to be a very, very strong card. The ability to cancel an opponent's event at will always and forever be strong, but was trying to find space in the deck to keep it at 60. If I was to go up to 61, my 61st card would definitely be a 3rd copy of him.
Hey man, there's only one thing I took from Aaron Glazer after I listened to him at the first podcast that I've actually kept through all of this. I play my deck 61 cards.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I lose. I play 61. Third one.
Well, no, I mean, if you look at all of my previous deck builds, they have been 61, and I'm trying to get over the hump of only being able to win store championships, and I see the major difference. Not that it matters, and I know it never has mattered. The major difference is most of the winning decks that I've seen play 60 cards diligently,
Agreed.
and
Agreed.
even in Netrunner, instead of playing 45, I'd play 46. But I'm trying my best to rein it back in and do things right and see how it works. Um, you can argue for days that adding 1 card does not really change the consistency of your deck. At the end of the day, it is just luck of the draw. But why not try to play the minimum? Why not try to do it this one time? So like I
Agreed.
said, I will move to 61 most likely during Store Champ season, especially with that new rule breaker that came out. Tiebreaker that came out, where whoever has the most cards in their deck is the winner if all the other ties are
Uh,
exhausted. And I would hate to lose on not playing a 61 card deck. That would be kind of
some
BS.
Sorry, somebody on Facebook's telling me that the description says Star Wars Destiny booster box unboxing or opening or something like that. So
Yeah, the
I
description
don't know
will
if
be
somebody
off.
are actually streaming. Okay, description will be off. Okay,
The description is incorrect currently. I'll change it up and everything once the video gets
no
gets
problem.
uploaded. It was just an oversight on my part. As a matter of fact, I can just change it very quickly now. So if you're watching this and it's not live, just skip ahead like 15 seconds as
But
I quickly change that.
I can actually build on that brand argument in the 61 cards, and you know what? maybe that's why I'm not winning major regionals or nationals or whatnot because I play 61 cards. But you're right. If you're going consistency and draw and whatnot, but also having only 2 brand means you're not seeing him as much. And possibly once we go down further in the list, um, I thought 3 brand were really important for me to make sure that some of my events are going through also. So there were a few times where brand only served for a hand's judgment, I guess. But I mean, he's just protecting you from bad stuff from the other guys and or making sure your stuff's going through. So I prefer somebody treacherying my brand than actually using treachery on ice or on Winterfell or whatever, right? So
That's fair.
unless they have to.
So I've updated it now. It should. I don't know if it's going to change
Cool.
on the fly, but at least when the video uploads, it should be fine. So yeah, that is 2 copies of Bran, and we will continue moving on to Catelyn Stark. I call her Caitlyn. Everyone says Catelyn. I'm playing the core version still because anytime you can deny your opponent the ability to trigger something, I think is excellent. In a deck where you're very low on intrigue icons, this means that you are able to throw Caitlyn in on a chump block intrigue and not have to worry about Fast Eddie getting tears or Asha getting tears. Anyone obviously that doesn't have an intrigue icon. So that is my reason for including this version in the deck versus the 7 cost, aside from the fact that she costs 7 and 4 is much more affordable. And I'm also playing 3 copies of Caitlyn.
Caitlyn, tomatoes, tomato, right? Agree. Personally, Fat Cat, great card you build around. Every other deck, when you're building something that's more generalized or you're building towards a different mechanic, not building around that one. I mean, this core cat, she's just like so golden, right? I mean, the icons, the strength, the ability, and then you're combining this with Winterfell. You're almost basically saying to the opponent, you know what? I'm going to be controlling what you're going to get through. So 3 up for sure.
Excellent. And then we've got Eddard Stark. There's really, you don't need to say anything about this other than if you're playing a deck where your primary objective is to win by hitting 15 power, then why would you not include 3 copies of this beautiful 6 cost Ed? For new players, his ability, first of all, his trait is that he has renown. So you already know that renown means when he wins a challenge, he gets a power. He has a reaction after Eddard Stark gains power using renown. Choose another participating character you control. That character gains 1 power. So he's now gaining a power for himself and throwing an extra power on somebody else. If that somebody else happens to be Asha and that challenge happens to be unopposed, she's getting a power, you're getting a power for unopposed. She's also standing and Ed's getting power as well, which is just bonkers. So automatic 3 for me because you want to see him and you want to see him early and often. Dan?
Plus, card that I was actually ranting about, and not ranting, but I was giving a lot of merit, and I've only recently started playing, which is funny because I was really excited for. Let's not forget Victarion.
Yep.
Victarion is a stupid good card. Expensive. Yep. So is Eddard. But you've probably had a few games where you actually have both on the field, and that is friggin' hilarious. Oh, yep. I love it.
I mean, and I'll probably forget about it when we get there. But again, for new players, Victarion, he has an ability where he can discard 2 power off of himself to save himself. So when you have him and Ed going in on challenges, they both have renown, plus Ed's throwing an extra renown on him, then you know that Victarion is not going to die ever.
Nowhere.
He's going to stay on the board. Not only that, but he also has Intimidate. So he's going to be messing with your opponent's challenges, on the comeback and opening up more opportunities for unopposed and just pushing you to the win that much quicker and really putting your opponent on a timer as to whatever they need to find or whatever they're going to try to do to stop you from winning that game in 3 rounds, 4 rounds, if you're able to get it out fast enough. So an easy 3 up for me. I play 1 copy of Hodor, which is way down here.
Yeah, I love Hodor out of Stark,
Hmm.
especially if I'm playing Fealty or Crossing or anything. But when there was a banner for me, it was too tight. I
Hmm.
chose to go for a Grey Wind because he fit more of my aggro style. But I
Okay.
play one of Grey Wind.
Okay. So again, we do have very different styles in our builds for this deck. The reason why I went with Hodor is because I know that I'm going to be going in pretty heavily on challenges trying to get power very early. And I want to have a card that's able to either defend the military or the power and do it pretty effectively. So for $2, he comes in, he has 4 strength. He can't attack unless you have Bran out. I only have 2 copies of Bran. So you know that I'm playing this mostly for defense. And because I'm playing so little copies of Bran, that is a reason why I only run one Hodor. That and with Valar coming out, you really want to reduce the amount of dead draws that you have. And Hodor would be an example of a card that you only need 1 copy of in your deck.
He's also pure efficiency,
Hmm.
right? In a sense, costs two icons, 4 strength. Okay, so attacking or not depends on Bran, and you're only running 2 copies of Bran, so odds are he's not attacking, but he's an awesome defender. He can
Hmm.
still participate in challenges. You're protecting that power icon, which is great. I've played a lot of Stark, and I've been hard on power. I just wanted this deck to do something different,
Hmm.
be very aggro and hard on the board state. But in anything that's protecting and or attacking on power, I would use Hodor. I mean, the fact that he's not contributing to dominance is something that's easily forgettable. I mean, people forget it during a game,
Yep.
but it's negligible in a sense because he only cost you 2. But we got to think about it. But he's just there strictly to protect your power challenge,
Hmm.
unless you have Bran.
And
So I
I
find it's a good choice.
and I think he does it very well.
Hmm.
Moving on, we don't really need to spend much time on this card. The Iron Islands Fishmonger. I only played 2 copies. I sometimes I wish that I could get 3 in, but I mean, and Dan has 2 up as well. Sometimes I wish I could get 3 in just because it's an extra chump that can die for military claim. But I would love to have 3 in just to make it easier to get, cards like Victorian out, or if I have Asha coming out later in the game when I don't have Noble Cause left, it just makes it that much easier. But I really don't see a need to go over 2 with this. Like, I would never make this a 61st card just to get 3 copies of the Fishmonger in. So purely for economy and just something to sack easily for military claim.
Same.
And moving forward, the next 4 cards are all one ofs. Going with my experience from first edition, they all have abilities that I like, and rather than go too heavily on them because they're not linchpin cards, they're not cards that you need to see every game to advance you to victory. But if you do see them, you do get them out, then it's only going to help you all the more. So, starting with those cards, we have 1 copy of Jane Westerling. Apparently, I forgot my ABCs. So, Jane is a newer card, might not be familiar to you guys. She's 3 costs. She has an intrigue and power icon with 1 strength. She's a lady, so another noble cause target. Although, I mean, I doubt anybody would really do that. It's up to you. Saves you $2. Action: kneel Jane Westling to choose and stand a Stark King or Lord character. Now, I assume that means Stark King or Stark Lord. Some people would
Yes.
try to read that as a Stark King or any Lord. So just remember that it's has to be a Stark character, and obviously we will see Stark Kings and Lords in this deck. We've already spoken about Bran. You know that Robb Stark's going to be there. You know that Eddard's in the deck. So she does have a couple of targets to hit. Not only that, but she gives you the opportunity to chump block and intrigue as well, and she has that power icon. So 1 copy of her. I doubt Dan will play this deck because there's no military icon there. Play this card, sorry, because she does not have a military icon. But I don't know.
Actually, I toyed with her a lot,
Hmm.
and there were some times where she was great. She just ended up being my 60-second card.
Okay, fair
I love
enough.
I love the ability, the whole stand, and she gets your important pieces rolling.
Hmm.
And if you look at the character at the icons when we're on Thrones DB, right? My deck will still have a lot more power icons than military icons. It's just that you get a lot of those main characters or big characters that actually pull in the work.
Hmm.
But Yeah, she did some work. It's just unfortunately deck's so tight. There's so many great characters. We're throwing in some of this. There's already great characters out of start. Throwing in some Kraken, she had to go,
Yep.
which is sad. But
I mean, that's fair. She's a card that you can definitely do without. If you draw her in a game, that's great. If you don't draw her in a game, you really don't care.
exactly.
So to me, that means that's a card that you can easily toss. Just like this one, I play him just because he was new and I wanted to try it out. He really doesn't do much in this deck, and in all the games that I've played, I've only ever gotten him out on the table one time. I've played roughly a dozen games with this deck, and in a dozen games, he's come out once. Ask me if I've ever used his ability. Never. But like I said, you have. like I,
No, but I have a funny story. It
okay.
was awesome. Tony at our, I'm from Montreal, if you guys couldn't tell already, and so it's different than across the pond. At our store championship in Laval, BD Cosmos, that you know, Tony, one of our local players who plays a lot of start, actually had him in a deck, and he got him out in the top four match. He made the top four. He lost that match because he wasn't getting characters of impact, but that card was a thorn in the spine of Felix, a member of our play group,
No
who
way.
ended up winning the store championship, but it just dragged the game on for so long. And it's like Tony was just couldn't get the right pieces to come back, but it gave him that chance. It's the only one time I saw it work. It's stupid, seriously, in a sense, but it was just so funny to watch. It was like one of the best games I've watched in a while. Just how hilarious to see what they were going to flip and if he was actually going to draw it or to toss it. It was funny. But yeah, no, that's not a card I would play.
Yeah. Well, my reason for playing this card again, exact same stat line as Jane, so 3 intrigue power and 1 strength. However, he had the stealth icon to help get the unopposed power challenges. And then his ability, as you were saying, can be very annoying for people. So reaction after Jojen Reed stands, reveal the top card of each player's deck. You may either discard each of those cards or have each player draw 1 card. So it's a quick way for me to get through my deck. If I see a card that is going to affect me negatively on my opponent's side, then I can effectively mill that card and make sure that they don't get their hands on it. But like I said, I never got to use the ability. I did get to use his stealth power. And it was nice to have him out beside Asha and Arya, all with stealth. So very easy unopposed challenge, very easy to get Asha's reaction off. So 1 copy of him for me.
Just because I haven't seen your list before we do this, so we look disorganized. A quick question then. Are you playing the Greyjoy Maester?
No.
Why, if you're playing him?
That's a good question. I mean,
you basically told me you got 2 icons in stealth and 1 strength, right?
yeah,
That's
yeah.
basically the
But
icon
he
you
only
want.
has power. He only has the power icon,
Yes,
and he doesn't have the ability. So that's what I chose. I chose the
but
ability
it
and the
costs
intrigue.
less.
He costs less, but I chose the ability and the intrigue with the stealth over just the stealth power. That
Okay.
was my reasoning behind it.
Hey, listen, just
No, no,
asking.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. It could be a wrong decision. I mean, I always encourage people after watching these videos, if you're interested in the deck, put your own spin on it, play it how you want to play it. But this is just the method behind my madness.
Funny how we argue about the cards that cost 1, 2, or 3, and all the main characters are all, yep, put them in, whatever costs the most. Where usually the argument should be that, right? Way too expensive for what it does. No,
Yeah.
we'll argue about the support, you know?
Well, I mean, it's fair. Like people always say that the 3 gold character is the worst in Thrones currently because of things like First Snow and whatever. But First
Which
Snow
is
is
fair.
less common now, and you can get a lot of utility 3 gold cards. And
Yes.
like I said, I just wanted to test him out. The one time I got him out, it was nice to have that stealth and have the option of possibly getting off an unopposed intrigue challenge, or throwing him in with Caitlyn maybe and turning off my opponent's triggers and just toying with them that way. But I definitely need to see him come out to the table more to decide whether or not I actually do require him in the deck. The next 2 one-ofs, Littlefinger, don't need to spend time on. Wherever the hell he is down here. Littlefinger, I've been trying. I went through a phase where I was like, I don't need Littlefingers in the deck anymore. But slowly I brought him back to at least 1 copy. Again, I like his icon spread. It gives me a little bit of intrigue defense, but first and foremost, I'll try to play him in setup a lot of the times just to get that +1 gold. Some people may frown on that, but to me, if I don't have any other choice, why not play a 5-cost character and get the +1 gold going into my first turn? Not only that, if I play him later in the game, I'm drawing 2 cards. And we know that Stark definitely needs that draw to keep continuing to see their weapons and keep their sword sharpened throughout the entire match. So 1 copy of Littlefinger, again, I can see people tossing him out in favor of other cards, but for me, it's always going to be a 1 of.
He's my crutch. I understand people not playing Littlefinger. I can barely get away with not having at least 1 copy in a deck. He's draw, he's economy, he's a good body. This deck needs intrigue icons. He gives you 1 of those.
Mm-hmm.
He's a 1 of for sure. And for my deck, just I don't know if you want me to cover my deck or what we missed after, or just say as we're going along.
Yeah, that's fine. Either or.
We missed the Jon Snow.
Mm-hmm.
No Jon Snow in yours. I preferred keeping Jon Snow instead of Janie. Obviously, his action, you got to sacrifice a character to stand a unique star character,
Mm-hmm.
but that body plus that military icon was important for mine. And just because it was a Valor meta, I thought the save of Jory Cassell was something I could not bypass.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a 1 of Jory also in there.
Okay, that's fair. I agree with that. I mean, knowing that Valar's out, I just kind of bank on drawing Iron Mines in a timely fashion. However, now that Harrenhal's out, and we can talk about that later, now that Harrenhal's out, I think Jory's going to be even more important. And
Actually,
being able to get saves out on the board first before you drop that big character that's going to get Harrenhaled, because Brand's not canceling that. It's not an event. And you don't have Treachery. So you got to start putting in some ways to get around Harrenhal's. One option is playing the other Harrenhal. The one that was it Harrenhal? Yeah, that came out. It was a promo card. Was it like you kneel it at the start of a phase and a character can't be killed or some nonsense like that?
No, that's the Eerie.
That's the Eerie.
The other Air Harrenhal is the Lannister one, which is a great card because I love the jumper decks. So you get to jump a character in play for free, and at the end of the phase it dies if it's still there, right?
All right. And either way, the Eerie doesn't work because the character already has to be on the field.
Yeah.
Can't come into play and Eerie that. So yeah, you definitely need an answer for Harrenhal because you are going to run into a lot of Stark fealty decks, I think, moving forward. And my last one of out of Stark anyways is 1 copy of Asha. And again, the reason is she's got that intrigue icon. Not only does she have that, she helps on the military aspect as well, and she has an annoying ass ability. Challenges action, remove Asha from the challenge, then stand her, limit once per phase. So it throws off your opponent's math, it throws off their thinking. It can just mess with their heads and kind of screw up their challenge phase because they never know what you're going to do with her. Are you going to throw out a Chud intrigue and then pull her out just to get rid of a character like, I don't know, Jaime Lannister, who has a military and intrigue icon? You want him to kneel out for whatever reason. It just kind of makes them have to think about what they're doing, I think, in the challenges phase. Probably not included in yours.
Nope. I understand the use, and I have used her, but not in this deck, no.
Fair. I figured. I play this game a little bit differently. As you'll see. Huh?
Actually, you know what? I've played a lot of decks that were strong on that power challenge, and I've played some. Maybe they weren't Stark Kraken. Stark Kraken took me in a different direction, and you're right. It's so easy to be strong on that power icon. I've done it with Barra Kraken, and so has Guillaume. Actually, Billy's been running a Barra Kraken deck for a while, which is a bit of an idea that we kind of work together. But I mean, it's hard on the power icon. Plus, you're adding the stealth. But I just wanted this to be different. So
I hear you. Well, as far as being different goes, this is probably going to rub a lot of people the wrong way. This is a card that I've been trying to make use of since it came out. I tried many, many times and failed. However, I decided I was going to throw it in this deck, and I'm sticking with it. Can't take it out. It is the Raider from Pike. He only has one purpose in this deck, which is what makes him freaking useless. But like I said, being a Greyjoy player, I want to make this card good. So Raider from Pike, he is a monocon, just a military icon, 2 for 2. but he has each weapon card in your hand gains ambush X. X is that card's printed cost. So yes, I play this deck more to be rushy. That being said, there are still lots of aggro elements in it. Ice obviously is in this deck. I do run a couple put to the swords and things like Winter's Coming, which could also be used for power. However, this card again makes your opponent have to think differently. So they're gonna look at Stark, they're gonna see me throw in whoever on a military challenge and say he saved 3 gold. Do I throw in enough guys so that I don't lose by 5 because I think he's gonna put to the sword, or is he playing ice out of hand with ambush? And just giving them that kind of ambiguous look where they don't really know what to expect opens opportunities for them to make a mistake. And so I had a game on Throne Techie last night where I threw in a challenge of I think it was like Arya and somebody else just to make it like 7 or so. And his option was to either block it 7-2 or block it with more. He decided to block it with more, which was great. I ambushed ice, killed a character on a 2-claim plot, so 3 people died, and he just said GG. Like, I'm not even going to continue with the match. So again, it gives you 2 options. It is very limited. However, it opens up bluffing. So I saved 3 gold because I had a shitty hand, let's say, couldn't marshal characters to save my life. But Raider from Pike's out on the board. I've got military icons out on the board, and he sees that 3 gold sitting there. He might throw in characters that he didn't want to win the challenge versus saying, I'm just going to chump block it with this guy for 2 and claim whoever I want. He's now thinking, shit, maybe he's going to ice my Tywin if I don't throw Tywin in on this challenge to make sure that I win it type thing. So this card, yes, it is useless at times. And I mean, if I was watching this video, I wouldn't throw it into my deck, but yes, I'll be honest. If I was watching this video, I wouldn't throw it into the deck. But I'm a Greyjoy player through and through. I really want this card to be good, and I preferred not to have it just sit in my card box. I want to try it out. Stark was the best, I guess, opportunity for me to try that until more weapons come out in Greyjoy, because the throwing axe is just too obvious. I know for sure that you don't play this, do you?
Question.
Yep.
Are you playing fishing nets?
No, man, no.
So you know what? Jabba says no. What are you doing?
I told you.
What are you doing?
I told you. As soon as I said this, I said there's only one weapon in the deck. The only weapon in this deck is ice. But
so I could understand if you playing it. I mean, you're getting no utility. You're opening bluffing.
Yes. For
what
2.
The hell?
It's $2. It's a body. Like, yeah, you can take these, and I play 2 copies. Yeah, you can take these 2 copies out, and like I said, put in the 3rd Bran or add in Jory or whoever. But I'm just trying to do a little bit different here.
Now you know why you lose. Now you know why you lose.
This deck has only lost 1 game. Just the one. Just 1 game.
No, listen, everybody. If you're playing the Kraken banner and you're looking for a 2 of body that costs 2, you don't play this crap. You play the Lord Sport Shipwright, which at minimum will help you kneel King's Roads and all the Greyjoy locations and take care of Gaston Grey and make sure you're actually getting work out of it, and Anne has 2 icons. Don't play this crap.
Hey, I totally agree with you, but this is my Throne Runner signature on this deck right here. This is me just signing off and being like, yo, I made this. This has to go in. And if you win with it, I'll send you, if you win a tournament with this in your deck, anybody watching, I'm going to send you one of the copies of the Kings in the North summer/winter agenda, double-sided.
That you were supposed to have a drawing with? Okay,
hey, cool. I couldn't make a video for 3 months, but I've got 3 of them to give away. One is going to be given away to someone that wins a tournament with this in their deck and actually makes use of it. That's an achievement for you, for those who like that. Xbox and PS4 achievements. Unlock this achievement. Win a tournament with Raider from Pike in your deck and having used it at least once in a tournament.
And we have to make a meme out of it. Some sort of a meme. We have to go, man.
But in all honesty,
Like, cause Shomar said so, or something like that. You know? Yeah,
in all
yeah.
honesty, though, I would easily take this out for the Greyjoy Maester with the stealth and power, Maester Wendemir, or any
Or
other
Lord Sports
Lord's
Shipwrights.
Port Shipwright. Yes, there are so many other cards to put in, but this was just me being silly, and it's actually worked out the couple of times that I've seen this card, and it's a cheap body, whatever, whatever. Lord's Port
Seriously,
Shipwright is not going to win you a game. Let's just say that. Let's just say that Lord's Port Shipwright is
if
not going to win you a game.
if you Neil Gaston at the right time, if you're cutting the economy on a low gold plot turn out of a King's
Yeah, but
Road,
if we're playing
if
the if game,
if if
if
you actually have that one intrigue icon there and the Greyjoy's player is not getting the unopposed, there's a few situations where the shipwright's a lot better. But
that's
you know what?
that's a lot of ifs, man.
I'm all well, like there's no ifs with your Raider from
Hey,
Pike.
hey, if I ambush in ice and I kill Tywin on a 2 claim plot and you kill 2 other people, that opens the board up for all the renown, all the unopposed. So there's a lot of ifs. This has one big ass if.
That's it. We need to play you and me best 2 out of 3 your deck versus mine.
We will. I'm down. I'm down. So we're almost done with the characters. There's 35 characters in the deck. We're at 23. The next one is an easy 3 of. It is Robb Stark, Corset Robb, that everybody is or should be familiar with. Again, 6 cost body. He's a lord. He has renown, so that's a target for Jane, obviously, his waifu. Sweet reaction: when a Stark character is killed, you get to stand each character you control, including Greyjoy characters. So that's a ruling for new players that maybe if you weren't aware of. It's not only the Stark character stand; it has to just be a Stark character that's killed, and it will stand your entire board. So it gives Victarion a chance to go at it again. For if he, I don't know, if you were second player or and had to use them on defense, maybe you gained a renown off it. You kill a Stark character, stand him up, and then use his intimidate and his renown ability again. So very, very useful card. Easy for me to find us 3 spaces to put Robb Stark in. And Dan, if you tell me otherwise, you're crazy.
That's what I was going to say. This is the time you start kicking my ass. Obviously, the deck originally, if we go back about a year, didn't have Victarion, so I had 2 Robs. And it was just an easy, I'll test something out, throw Victarion in, so many copies and whatnot, and I never actually brought my count of Robs back to 3, so shame on me.
So you...
So I only have 2.
What?
Yes. Sacrilege!
You...
Now you can say, Jabba says no!
What? Only 2 copies, eh? That's
Yeah.
interesting. Okay. And you play 61 cards?
I play 61 cards.
And you couldn't find a way to get a 3rd one in?
I probably didn't toy enough with it.
Interesting.
But yeah, no, of course. Anybody listening, I'll be a Shomar. Don't do what I do. Play 3.
That's right. Their next card is Theon. I'm falling less and less in love, or falling more and more out of love with Theon Greyjoy. I do only play 1 copy. Let me just keep him up on the screen here. I do only play 1 copy. The odd time he'll come out and give me that extra power on an unopposed challenge. Again, he does have the stealth icon on the military and the power, but excuse me, something about him is just very underwhelming in the meta currently, where it used to be in my decks an auto 2 of Theon, sometimes 3, but now I'm finding it harder and harder to keep him. Like, the fact that I have more Raiders from Pike than I do Theons in my deck is saying something, I think. I don't know what it is that I'm not liking about him currently. Maybe Dan can shed some light on that, but there's just something about Theon Greyjoy. It could be his cost that just makes me reduce the amount that I'm playing him. Dan, I don't know. What is it? There's something about it. I don't know what it is.
I agree also. And I think it's something that if you've ever had your Theon warded with a few power on him, you always feel, even when you're playing him, I mean, obviously when you're not playing against Stark, it's not the same thing, but there's always that risk.
Mm-hmm.
So I love him. I play him as a 1-of also. He is a lord, and he gets all that stuff and Ironborn and stuff, depending on the decks. But to me, he's just a body that survives for snow.
Mm-hmm.
He's got stealth on the right icons. I don't need more. I don't need less. If he actually gains me a power once in a while, I'm happy
Mm-hmm.
because I don't need his power gain in this deck.
Mm-hmm.
But if I get it, I'll take it. He's mostly there because he survives first snow. He's got 2 icons that I need, and he's got stealth. So one of is perfect for me. I also, if you guys didn't understand or catch it, I played 2 Lord Sport Shipwrights, which you didn't touch.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a Sansa Stark.
Mm-hmm.
I'm playing the deluxe box Sansa Stark, however, because kind of like your Hodor, she's my efficient body with good strength, and or I'm trying to clear the board, so hopefully I don't have too many characters in my dead pile by the time I actually need her.
Yep.
I'm playing 1 copy of Summer that you haven't mentioned, which I'm
Mm-hmm.
a little surprised, and maybe my Rob Stark is actually a copy of Blackfish. I play a 1 of Blackfish.
Blackfish would be a very nice ad, actually. And when I start taking the deck more seriously, not that I don't take it seriously, but I mean like 100% serious, it will be -2 Raider from Pike easily to drop me down to 58, and then I'll fill out those 2 extra slots with more consistent cards. I still think Raider does well the times that I've gotten to use him, but obviously there are cards that you could slot in that when you draw them, you know, when the game's on the line and I draw Raider from Pike versus when the game's on the line and I draw the Blackfish knowing that I have the money for it, it's a very, very big difference. Like, this is the Raider from Pike and this is the Blackfish, and it's easily like that.
Let me correct your English. You don't think Raider from Pike is good. You think Raider from Pike is fun.
He
Not
is
the-
fun, man. You gotta have fun when you play. Come on.
Yes, it's
Come
not
on.
good. It's fun. I
There's-
agree if you're going for that whole surprise thing and whatnot.
Yeah.
And threat, okay, fun, I'll work for it. Good.
In all
But,
honesty,
hey, Blackfish
because-
has his downsides. He's only 4 strength, so it's
Mhm.
easy burn territory. You got to be careful. That's why I only throw a 1 of, where I used to have a lot more Blackfish in my start decks. We got to remember, Targ has seen a resurgence. There's a lot of Targ decks out there. Burn is still a thing. That 4 strength is on the iffy side if you don't have Winterfell. So I like him, but the reaction is also good too, because he does
Yeah.
not need to be participating in a military challenge.
that is
And
very
drawing
true.
cards. Drawing cards, man.
You are right. You're right. And because this is a deck that I do want to play during store championships, the whole surprise factor of me dropping a Raider from Pike now is all but gone. So when you are sitting
Actually, you could play a Raider from Pike and not play Ice.
and take ice out,
That's a surprise factor. Everybody would be surprised. Take Ice out, man. You don't need that. It's a garbage card. What are you
Nah,
talking about?
if you're sitting across from me at a store championship in the next couple of months, just know that you're not going to see Raider from Pike at the table. That's all I'm saying. So moving forward, we're almost done with the characters. We've got 2 copies of Tumblestone Knight.
Yes.
Just a utility, no-name body. And then 3 copies of Victarion. Because Victarion is freaking OG. So
Yes.
Intimidate, Renown, Interrupt. When Victarion Greyjoy would be killed, discard 2 power from him to save him. He's 6 cost, military, and power icon. He just puts in so much work against any opponent. Doesn't matter who they are. There's no reason not to have 3 copies of him. The fact that he's not loyal to Greyjoy kind of upsets me, or upset me when he first came out. Just based on the books and things and how the lore goes, he should be a loyal character to Greyjoy, but like not enough people even splash the Kraken that it's gonna make that much difference. I think that he's not loyal, but just thematically, I thought that he should be loyal. Again, one thing to note is that he's also a lord, so that brings the amount of targets in this deck for Noble Cause up to, I think, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Sorry. So there's tons of targets for a Noble Cause. He is probably one of the better ones next to Eddard. So he's a triple for me. And then to finish it off, and I'll let you comment in just a second. To finish it off, it's just 3 copies of the Winterfell Steward. So the character econ for Stark to round it out at 35 characters.
Yep. So 3 Winterfell Steward makes sense. I only played 2 Victarion.
Yep.
Got to keep in mind that, like I say, I've been toying with this deck on and off for a while, and Victarion wasn't around, so he was one of the cards I squeezed in since. And in testing, maybe I got lucky, but I did see Victarion when it mattered. And the fact that he has a built-in save means that having two doesn't matter as much. I'm not relying on him as much, maybe as certain other decks. I do love his abilities. I love when I get him, but and he has that save. So like I say, I wasn't too worried. I would prefer having three. So I guess toying with it, I could fit in three, but it has worked out at two. And we haven't mentioned, but I was actually beaten in the fourth round of a store championship recently by a deck that I almost took, which was this Star Kraken. And it seemed that Alex Godlovich, all the merit to him, was playing two in his list also, and he did manage to take. He only took fifth in the end. I think he missed the top four cut, but and that Victarion was doing a lot of work. He saw it, and I could never get past him or get around him.
Yeah, I mean, you could get away with two, but I think when you take the leap into three, that means it's a card that you definitely want to see,
Yes.
and you want to see it as many times as you can throughout a tournament, and the only way to do that is to ensure it by playing the maximum that you're allowed, which is three. This is a card that will make or break the game for you, especially again if he's coupled next to Eddard. So for me, that's why when I started the deck, before I put any character in, it was three Victarion, to be completely honest with you, because I knew that was one that I would not waver on. One character I would not waver on playing all three copies of him.
He also helps get your cost curve real high, though, right? Well, maybe not real because you don't have any seven costers, but you're paying 6 costs for Eddard, 6 costs for Rob, 6 costs for Blackfish because eventually those raiders are going to become a Blackfish, and then 6 costs for Victarion. So, that's why I can understand how some people are playing two.
Yep.
I love the character. I would personally try to eventually bring it up to 3, but playing two in this deck hasn't hurt me so far.
That's fair. Next, going into the attachments, I only play 5. We'll see if I catch flack for the 5 that I chose. So I play 2 copies of Bodyguard. So again, attaches to a lord or lady. This deck has plenty. When attached character would be killed or discarded from play, sacrifice Bodyguard to save that character. A funny story, last night I was playing on Throne Techie, and I didn't realize that the new pack was live on Throne Techie, so I didn't know that they had programmed all the cards in. My opponent was playing a Stark deck, and I guess he snuck Harrenhal out in setup, and me just tunnel visioning on my cards because my hand was godlike. I had 2 copies of Fast Eddie and a Bodyguard in my hand. My setup was beautiful, and so I played Noble Cause. I knelt a Winterfell Steward. I knelt the Heart Tree Grove. I put Fast Eddie in, and I was about to click on his dupe, and then I saw whatever Neil's Harrenhal, and I was like, wait, what? What card is that again? And he's like, yeah, he's dead, man. And I was like, oh. And I was just like, okay. I don't want to play anymore. I finished the game. I still came back and ended up winning. But, like, it was just crazy that a character could just die for no reason like that. Like, I totally forgot that card even existed or was coming out. So, that is the thing with Bodyguards right now is, it's all well and good when you have the character out already and then you can play the Bodyguard. But just keep in mind that there are now ways to kill characters before they even get the opportunity to put an attachment on them, unless it's Arya, because Arya's reaction will come in if you're first player. She'll come in and then immediately take a dupe because you get to choose your reaction first before Harrenhal pops off. That being said, there are so many other ways to kill characters in this game, namely Valar now. So having Bodyguards in a deck like this, where there's so many high cost important characters with renown, any way to keep them on the board or guarantee that they stay on the board a little bit longer is going to help you out in the long run. So that's why I chose Bodyguard over Milk of the Poppy, because my last 3 attachments are ice. Dan?
Plus, people keep forgetting Bodyguard is actually a condition, right? And there's a lot of Crescent going around, so we got to remember that. But yeah, agreed. My deck actually originally had only 1 Bodyguard, just the odd card you throw in and try to save somebody that's got a lot of power. And now that Valar's around, I went up to 2.
Hmm.
So I fully agree.
Question: would you ever consider a third, or do you think that's too many?
I think the deck, the way it is, I guess there are the odd moments where you'll actually play a bodyguard early and somehow have to sacrifice it or save the character. But in general, when you play the bodyguard on a character, that also means that, and this deck tends to run a lot of targets.
Hmm.
Like, a lot of the characters are impactful. So if I play a bodyguard on Blackfish and I'm actually running Eddard or Caitlyn,
Hmm.
or Rob, those are the characters that are going to get targeted. They're not going to go after the one that's got bodyguard, unless you're Valar or you're something like that, right?
Hmm.
So I don't know that I need 3.
No.
Let me. I mean, we haven't touched plots.
Yeah.
Let me say that I built this deck before Valor. I eventually included Valor, and I've since then removed Valor. So also, I'm not playing Valor out of the deck, which is kind of weird because it's a kill deck.
Hmm.
So I don't need the third bodyguard as much because I'm not using it for my own kill.
Well, I don't know if how things are in your meta, but I'm just wondering, have you guys started to see a shift in more Varys coming back into play?
Yes, actually, we saw that prior to Valor being legal. So yes, there is some Varys around. So yes, bodyguard does help against that. Agree.
Okay. I mean, I've seen it a lot more on online playing. There was that game on Rob's channel that you guys might have seen. Myself in the final getting terrorized by Varys, who came into play, discarded my entire board, and then, because it was nice to watch, proceeded to marshal my own characters out of my discard pile. In which case, bodyguards in that deck would have probably helped me out a little bit. So
But
it's
that's
just
why you're ambushing ice.
no, but that game, that was I running Stark that game? No, that game was
I
just
don't
straight
think so.
Greyjoy
Yeah.
fealty.
Yeah, you were
Yeah,
playing Greyjoy.
with not enough bodyguards. So that's just another thing to think about. If your meta is running heavily with the Varys play, you're going to get hit with not only Varys but Valar as well. So you might consider trying to get bodyguards in. So those are the 5 attachments. The locations will fly through pretty easily. 1 Gates of Winterfell for the draw. I've never really played more than 1 copy of this card ever. Kneel Gates of Winterfell to reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a start card, draw it.
Gates in my start decks are always 2 of.
Oh yeah, you play 2?
Yes, in start decks. In this
Okay.
deck, being it a banner, odds
Oh,
are
okay.
that you're going to flip something that's not a start card, right? A lot more, because you don't have. I mean, plus on top of it, most of my start decks are fealty, so there's even a limited quantity of neutrals.
Mhm.
So odds are you're flipping a start card. In this deck, there was too much of a risk. I had it. There were too many times where I didn't like what I did, what I flipped. So I took it away, 100%, and I'm
Okay.
playing Counting Coppers plus Littlefinger plus trying to
For
get
your
some
draw.
draw out of Blackfish also.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of that, but unfortunately, start decks tend to top deck very well, and I'm kind of going for that. And or made sure Counting Coppers was in my plot deck. Sorry.
Yep. You're right. I've also found that because it is a banner deck, there are a lot of times where I was flipping not only Greyjoy cards, but just other cards in the deck that were
Neutral.
neutral and tells, so giving my
Oh,
opponent
yeah.
insight as to what is in my deck and the things that I'm trying to do. But the times when I was able to draw off it, I still enjoyed the draw much more than the times when I was not losing, but showing them cards I didn't really want to show them.
Yeah.
So for me, I think I'm going to continue with the 1, and we'll just see how that goes. 2 copies of Heart Tree Grove, because I'm done. I don't play 3 copies of the in-house reducers. I stopped doing that like 2 months or 3 months into 2nd edition. It could just be me. I don't know. Do you play 3 still?
Depends. Yes. And in this deck, it seems I'm playing 3 Heart Tree Grove,
Mhm.
and I reduced my Rose Roads to 2 instead of just 3.
Okay. Yeah,
Where
that's usually the
the
change,
argument with the banner, probably the argument should be 3 Rose Road and only 2 Heart Tree Grove.
Yep.
And now that there's the Ocean Road out, I threw 1 into the mix.
Okay.
So actually, my economy, I have 3 Heart Tree, 1 Ocean Road, 3 Kings Road,
Mhm.
because my economy is super tight once we look at my plots,
Mhm.
and 2 Rose Road. And I could see the argument being made of Heart Tree being reduced to 2 and having 3 Rose Roads in the Ocean Road,
Hmm.
right, because of the banner. But I just like the cards that when you play it, you can actually tap it and use it right away.
Right.
It's a playstyle thing. Probably
Yeah.
mathematically, that's a mistake. I'm sure that's a mistake. It should be only 2 Heart Tree, but I'm looking at the deck and that's what I have. So
Yeah. I definitely agree with your argument towards not playing 3 is, you're playing a deck that has characters from other faction in it.
yeah.
So you want to be able to get those out as efficiently as possible. Plus, if you're playing something like Put to the Sword or whatever have you in a deck that runs very limited plots as far as economy goes, you want to make sure that you're able to afford those cards. But it is
Well,
playstyle preference.
let me change the deck right away.
So while you're doing that, I'll continue. So 3 copies of the Iron Mines, because if you're taking Greyjoy as your banner, why wouldn't you take a card that saves any and everybody? They could be neutral, Stark, or Greyjoy, doesn't matter. They're getting saved by Iron Mines unless it gets treachery. And I mean, I would love. No, I shouldn't say I love. Let me switch that sentence. I love giving my opponent, or putting my opponent in the opportunity where they have to decide, is it worth treacherying this reaction? Is it worth treacherying that reaction? So they got to think about, do I save my treachery for Eddard? Do I save my treachery for an Iron Mines? Do I save it for Asha Standing? Do I save it for an Ice? So you're just giving them so many different treachery opportunities that they generally make at least one mistake with the treachery in the game. And that's going to open a window for you elsewhere, whether it be that round or a little bit later when they can't treachery, let's say, the Ice that they didn't know was sneaking around in your hand that got ambushed out by the Raiders from Pike. But easily 3 copies of the Iron Mines. If you tell me you play 2.
That's why you play 3 brand. 3 brand means you. But no,
Yeah, I guess you could play 3 brand, but
the other thing is, you got to be careful because your own Winterfell can kind of cancel your Iron Mines. There
yeah.
are times where you're playing this deck, and I've played it out of other stuff, but playing into Stark, I'm like, oh, maybe he'll put to the sword or something like that. Tap Winterfell. He doesn't have a Winter plot. Neither do I.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't use my Iron Mines, but he was aggressive enough on my board that I only have characters that I want. So you can't absorb the claim with an Iron Mine, so you got to be careful with that. That's a little. But once you get into the habit of you used Winterfell, you can't Iron Mines, you'll claim whatever's the best claim, and you keep going at it. It avoids surprises.
You're right. I usually save my Winterfells for intrigue challenges,
Same.
personally. But no, you're right. I know
There
what
are
you're
those
saying.
situations where
There are a lot of times where I can see myself, Winterfelling and being like, oh shit, I didn't even realize that. Now I can't save this character. But that is why you run 3 copies of all the important ones, because you would hope that you're able to find a dupe of them, or bodyguard them, or whatever.
or you run 2 or 1 copies, but you just run more characters of impact.
That's true. That was the 1.0,
Yeah.
I guess, play was just increasing the amount of characters that you had and putting one of each. If one dies, who cares? Because you got another one that's going to come do something else. So
Which
there's
is something this deck could actually do, though.
Oh,
Right?
definitely.
Adding good Greyjoy characters, so it does happen.
Next is the auto includes of King's Road and Rose Road. We don't even need to talk about those. I play 3 of each. I'm used to playing 2 King's Road because of Greyjoy and because of Euron, so it felt weird putting in a 3rd King's Road, but it has paid off, and because these characters are so expensive, it would be very difficult to get away with just playing 2, in my humble opinion. And Dan's already talked about his King's Road and Rose Roads. He said he plays 3 King's Road and 2 Rose Road.
Not anymore.
Oh yeah, he switched that, so 3 Rose Roads and 2 Heart Tree Groves instead. And then lastly, I run 2 copies of Winterfell. This card is 4 cost, which kind of sucks sometimes to play it because it is very expensive. You'd much rather spend that 4 on a character at times, but it definitely pays dividends if you get it out early and have it out for the entire duration of the game. So each start character you control gets +1 strength. Reaction after a challenge is initiated, kneel Winterfell. Then each player with a non-winter plot card revealed cannot trigger card abilities until the end of the challenge. So you are now able to use Catelyn to cancel abilities on Intrigue or Power, and then have Winterfell cancel the triggered abilities on whichever outstanding challenge is left. So it's really nice to have the ability to cancel 2 things in the challenge phase, or 2 full sequences in the challenge phase, I should say. Do you run 2 or do you run 3? Don't tell me 1, 2. Okay.
Banner deck, I run 2. I used to run 3 out of all my start decks. Meta's changed. There was a lot of winter going on for a while. It's expensive, plus you can't reduce it with fealty. So this is a 2 for me.
Okay.
I don't rely on it as much, but it's a great location, so I need to.
Okay. There you go. Lastly, the events. We are at 54 cards. There's only 6 events in the deck. This part is what gave me trouble. So, and I'll explain that in just a second. So I'll start off with 3 copies of Winter's Coming. We all know what this does. It's a core set card. It just increases the claim value by 1. So this card is great because it can be used in different ways. So it doesn't have to be just on military challenges, obviously. A lot of people do use it for military, but it also increases the claim on intrigue or power. So I find that I use it mostly on power challenges. Like I said, it's really nice when, you know, you have Asha and Fast Eddie going on a challenge. It's going to get unopposed. It's going to get renown. Plus it's going to get the renown from Eddard's ability, and then a power from claim. And then if you play Winter's Coming, that's another claim. So 5 power right there. Now, the reason why I say that the events gave me trouble is because I found it difficult to decide whether this deck is going to have an aggro focus or a power rush focus. And I find that for whatever reason, I always end up going in both directions rather than focusing on the one when I play Stark. So the other 3 events that I included.
Let me stop you for a second.
Yep.
Because that's actually, there's a lot of insight in what you just said. And you're just throwing thoughts out.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things that's great with this mix is you can actually build a deck, and as the game goes along and you're seeing the tools and you're seeing your opponent, you can choose. And that's one of the things I love about Winter's Coming was being taken out of start decks. Now all of a sudden the guy wins the Stolic and everybody's bringing it back. But it was always one of my favorite start cards since the core set because it has that utility. You can choose to make it what it is. It's such a strong card. It could be aggro. It could be rush. It could be what you need. I mean, the easy answer is early game, claim military. Late game, claim power. But it's never that simple. Games, I mean, yes, it's Thrones, right? I mean, I've been playing a lot of Destiny recently. Most Destiny games are close. And even when it feels like somebody's blowing up the opponent, the game kind of levels itself out. A character dies. And Destiny, it's a different game. This is Thrones. There are a few games that are, you knew right from the get-go you lost or you won.
Yep.
When you're in that type matchup, it's never that clear. Winter is Coming is a great card to have in your hand because that decision, can swing it for you.
That is true.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of insight in what you were saying. It's a great card.
And I really like what you said there, how, you know, it can be an aggro card. It can be a control card if you want to make it 2 or 3 intrigue claim. And it can be the power rush card if you need it to be that way. So there's so many opportunities. And like a lot of the times, you know, if your opponent is sitting on a Put to the Sword or is sitting on a Tears of Lease or whatever have you, and whether or not you're going to be able to stop that. And so this is a way that definitely helps you kind of mess with them a little bit and throw off their plans. But that being said, so the way, or what I was talking about earlier, where I couldn't decide which route this deck was focused on, I consider it to be focused on winning the game very early. However, to win a game early, at times you do need to take characters off the board. You do need to kill characters on your opponent's side to open up the unopposed to make it easier for you. So I elected to still go for the Put to the Swords. Where the hell is it? There we go. I like to go for Put to the Swords. That's Put to the Torch. Reading is very hard, guys. Put to the Sword. There we go. I chose to go with it still. I play 3 copies of it. And the thing that's weird about it is that even though I play 3 copies of this, in all those matches that I've played testing this deck out, I think I've only drawn and used it twice. So a lot of the times I've won the game without even needing to throw this down, or I've won the game before I could even use it, things like that because of the rush aspects. I don't know that I need 3 copies of Put to the Sword. I really think that it could get away with just 2 and rely on things like ice and whatever else winter's coming, whatever, to get those kills on the board. So I think that I could drop it to 2. Part of me wanted to just play like is it Superior Claim or Superior? What the hell is it called? Did I
Yeah,
just
for
make
the
that
power.
up? Yeah. Superior Claim.
Yeah. I love
Part of me
that.
wanted to
Yeah.
do that and just go straight into the rush mentality, but I just can't decide. Like I'm kind of in between on it. So that is definitely somewhat an aspect of this deck where I wanted to hear your take on it. After now seeing the entire list, we still haven't done the plots yet, but I just want to know, in your opinion, is it worth it to run the 3? Should Put to the Sword even be in it at all? Should it be something else like a Nightmares or what's your take on it?
You play the deck. You base your opinion and the way you're playing the deck off of something very different. I wanted to go something a little bit more aggro, board control, and aggressive. But obviously, if the power challenge opens up, I'm going to take it. You probably take it the other way around. But you're right. Removing threats and problems is something that's important. Plus, you're not playing Milk of the Poppy, right? So you're not controlling them. So with Caitlyn and Winterfell, you're protecting yourself from the opponent's threats and kills, but you're not generating or removing characters off the board. I see Put to the Sword as a tool and or an aggro card. It could be both.
Okay.
Right? I still believe it's a good card. It's a surprise effect. We haven't covered all of my attachments. My attachments, I've been playing 2 Bodyguard, 2 Ice, and 2 Milk of the Poppy. So I have 6 attachments. And I was hesitating, and that's what I've been toying around with the deck a lot. Like I say, Winter is Coming for me was a 3 of. And then it was either 2 Put to the Sword and 3 Ice, 2 Ice, and 3 Put to the Sword. And I chose Put to the Sword because the threat is always there, and people are playing around the threat. But I try to reduce the board and or play around it. And an early Put to the Sword can swing the games. You can actually pinch characters that the opponent wasn't expecting to see go. And it's more of a surprise factor because you either have it in hand or not. There's so many games where I squeeze my opponent and he's like, screw it, I can't defend it. You're going to win by 5 at least, so I'll just end up, if you have it, you take it in the face. How many times do you not have to Put to the Sword when the opponent lets you go through because they say, I can't defend it? There's so much stealth. You got the Intimidate from Victarion. There are ways of getting the win by 5 through. And there are a few games where I've actually managed to ice and Put to the Sword in the same turn. And that's like deadly. We haven't done the plot deck. I make sure my plot deck has at least a 2-claim plot that I can. If I use it early, I'm using for military, obviously going aggressive. If I use it late, it's a bit more of a closer on power. Like I say, you play the deck in a way, I play the deck in a way. We start off with an original plan, but I think it can go both ways.
Okay.
And so there's some toying there. But I would only play 5 of those kill. That's just me. That's where I found my comfort zone was. So it was either 3 Ice and 2 Put to the Sword, or vice versa. And having the events in hand. I mean, there's so many decks right now that are not playing events. Events are so much fun. That's the surprise factor. Why would you want to play this game with your whole hand on the field and every opponents know everything and everything else that you have in your hand is, oh, this is what I'm going to marshal next turn. Screw that, man. I want the events.
So that's where my dilemma is that, I see this with new players a lot, and even myself, having played this game now for, I don't know, 3 years, 4 years, whatever it is. So scenario is, you have 5 gold in the marshaling phase. And with that 5 gold, you could either marshal, let's say, Caitlyn Stark and go into challenges with 1, or you can marshal, I don't know, Jojen Reed and go in with 2 and leave yourself open for the Put to the Sword. And you sit there and you try to decide which one makes more sense for this turn, which one makes more sense moving forward. You're likely the first player because you want to take those things off the board right away. So now you're guessing, not knowing what your opponent's going to marshal. And for me, I seem to always make the wrong decision. So in the games where I should keep the 2 gold for the Put to the Sword, I say, nah, it's not worth it, and I'll put out something else and go in with 1. The games where I shouldn't, I'll be like, yeah, I'm going to go all in on the Put to the Sword because I know for sure I'm going to get this off. I go in and I don't get it. So that's my reason for not really knowing, because in this deck, like we've been saying, the economy is so important. And once you start botching what that economy should actually be used on in a certain turn, then the deck takes a very, very quick nosedive.
Agreed. Which is why I try to go aggressive early, and hopefully everything goes. And I try to make sure my plot deck helps me because my
Hmm.
plot deck is probably going to be even tighter than yours for
Hmm.
economy. But hey, just make the right decisions and don't play Jojen, right? Because that right off the bat in your example, that's when you, oh, I'm going to play Jojen and keep two.
Mhm.
Wrong.
Well, okay, Jojen was just a name. Like, let's say it
No, I
was
know, I know, I know, I know.
the
I'm just
wall,
teasing you. You want me to say it
or not the
again?
wall.
Chava says no.
I'm saying like, okay, let's say perfect scenario, Winterfell, not the wall, Winterfell. So you have Winterfell for 4, or you can play a little chump character and go in with that chump, what you already have on the board, which you think should be enough to win by 5, and 2 gold to get off the put to the sword. And it's like the wall is a really good card. If I play it this turn, yeah, I might feel like I'm at a deficit this turn, but moving forward, I know it's going to pay off. Versus, do I go for this put to the sword now because I know I can kill Tywin and that's going to pay off? And you just never really know, especially when you're the first player, what is and isn't guaranteed. And I guess that's the beauty of Thrones, is that you really never know what your opponent's going to throw at you. So, and maybe in all card games it's the same thing, but I just find that to be my
Dude,
major issue.
you're a poet. You should write a book.
Maybe one day.
Seriously, agreed. But I understand why people like having put to the sword and going first. But
Hmm.
does one have to go hand in hand with the other?
I mean, no, but
Because
it's
we're
all
always building for the next turn, right?
yeah.
We're working towards getting to our goal. Okay, probably I'm not a pro player, and Dark Naj or whoever is the greatest player in the world, or can probably tell me that I keep playing this game wrong and I'm a stupid dumbass. But personally, stealth is stronger when you're second
Yeah.
because the opponent's either nailed part of his board or just gave up on his challenges.
Hmm.
Victorian kind of helps you work into it. So I don't see put to the sword. I mean, yes, there are turns where you're looking at your opponent's board and you're going, holy beep, and you want to get it off and whatnot. And that's the other thing is how much, I don't know, we haven't talked plot deck, but how's your initiative? I mean, sometimes it's wishy-washy. So what are you going to play if you absolutely want to go first? If that decision isn't right out of your plot deck, because you've been used to playing Greyjoy,
Hmm.
you almost always choose. Most other decks don't necessarily work that way.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I understand that that's maybe a decision point, and you're right. And I guess sometimes that's how I even surprise myself, not being a card player. If anybody, sorry, who eventually listens to our podcast and or listens to the intro, it's not just fancy music, will know that I don't come from a card game background. So maybe I see these things differently. I challenge myself differently. I'll probably outthink myself a lot sometimes, but you're right, that whole thought process, and to me, that's the magic of this complicated game because it's a lot more complex than other games that I've played. Um, Finding that right answer, that right timing as to when to keep the gold and not, because you're right, you need to. There is no Tyrion in this, right?
Hmm.
I mean, there's no easy button. It's hard, but it's there. And
Hmm.
like I say, when in doubt, play aggressive early and play power late.
It
I don't
makes
know, man.
sense. It makes
That's one of the
sense.
things that's awesome about this deck is you could play it 5 games straight and never play it the same.
Yeah, because it all depends what you draw in that opening 1 or 2
And
turns.
your opponent will be sitting in front of the same deck. You play your opponent in your 4 games or 5 games, right, in the Swiss, and then you play him again in the top 4.
Yeah.
He knows your cards, but they won't come out in the same fucking order.
Hmm.
You won't take the same decisions at the same decision points. So that's why probably keeping your put to the sword is important. And that's why I'm guessing that those decisions can make a huge difference. And sometimes you can even take, because you know that people are going to look at it. How many times have you actually kept 2 gold and not played something just in case for that put to the sword?
Too many times.
And that's great, right? You just said it. That's the beauty of this Thrones game.
Hmm.
I think it's there. Like I say, I don't know that this is a not a regional but a world-winning deck or whatnot, because who and who will actually destroy it. It's a fun deck. It has a lot of these decision points. You were saying how you like having so many triggers for treachery and putting pressure and decisions on the opponent.
Hmm.
But part of the fun of this deck is actually that you have a lot of them, and it feels very rewarding when you actually made the right one. And it
That is
feels like
true.
you want to kick yourself in the pants when you took the wrong one.
Yeah.
But then you can actually blame Shomar because he told you, man, take the Raider from Pike. And when you win the game, I'll actually send you this promo card from the French guys in Quebec, you know? So,
Hey, just wait, man. When more weapons come out, Raiders from Pike is gonna be freaking
oh,
godlike.
oh.
They're gonna
You
have
were
to
talking to me about a lot of ifs. When more
just
weapons
wait.
come out?
They're gonna
You
errata
know how
that
many?
card. Mark my words. That card's gonna get errated, and it's gonna say limit once per phase. Just wait. Just
You
wait.
know how many cards we can actually say when
Just
about that are
wait.
garbage cards right now?
Just
Oh,
wait.
just wait. When this happens, this card will be awesome. When this happens, this card will be awesome. You want me to take my whole collection out? We'll go card by card.
I'm just saying. Just wait, man. Just wait. But
All
anyways,
right,
we'll get into the plots. We'll get
we
into
got to
the
move
plots.
on, man.
Yeah. So obviously 7 plots. Like I said, there's a lot of lords and ladies. So easily, plot number 1 is a noble cause. Just reduces the cost by 2. Income of 5, which is a lot of money that you can still spend after having reduced that character coming in. So it's nice to, as we said, marshal in Asha for 3 and still have that 2 gold left over for potential put to the sword. You never really know, or just to spend it on another character. I think it goes without saying that this is included in your deck as well because it's the easiest econ in the game currently.
For sure. One of my favorite plots, and in this, it has to be so many lords and ladies. No question.
And I can't see anybody trying to naval escort you on turn 1 as much anymore. When you go to a big tournament like Nationals or Worlds, maybe there's always going to be that one jerk running around just freaking dropping it turn 1 on everybody because he wants to see it trigger once in the 8 rounds.
And it's a
But
card that exists, so there's the surprise factor and whatnot. But yeah,
it still kind of sucks when people hit you with what's that summer plot called? My memory, it's late at night. The summer plot that gives you +2 on whatever you dropped.
yeah. Why aren't we looking at our plots? It would have been easier. No, not Song of Summer.
Summer
It's
Harvest, something
Summer
Harvest,
Harvest. Yes,
something like that,
Summer
whatever.
Harvest.
Yeah, there's so
It's
many
Summer
cards now.
Harvest.
So yeah, it kind of sucks because that card does come out a lot on turn 1. So I don't like seeing my opponent get 7 just for playing a card, but that's the reality of it. And you just hope that your technically it's 7 that you're getting as well. Just hope that your 7 is better spent than their 7. So that's a noble cause. Next, we've got Calling the Banners, again, just for the economy. It has some pretty good initiative on it of 6. When revealed, choose an opponent, gain 1 gold for each character that player controls. If you're playing it very aggro, chances are that opponent might only control 1 or 2 characters. If you're playing it the way that I play it, most times you're going to get at least 3 gold extra from Calling the Banners. So I don't know if you play that, Dan, because yours is very aggro.
I'm realizing. I mean, there's a few differences, but both decks can be played similar. You just said the right thing. This is one of my favorite plots. I usually play it in a lot of my decks, even decks where I won't play a noble cause. But I was realizing that if I went aggressive too early, that plot wasn't gaining me as much income. And when I had to cut, I always have minimum 2 income plots. I love having 3 in general. I cut it off, but I tried to round out my curve with as much 4 gold plots as possible because 4 gold being close to my minimum. So I do not have calling in this deck.
Okay, and that is very understandable because if your goal is to kill shit as fast as possible, then especially if you wipe your opponent's board, then you now have this dead plot in your hand. You're not going to play it just for 3, so or play it for the 6 initiative because
Initiative is great though. Yeah.
But I mean, there are far better initiative cards that you could choose.
Yes.
So that is already a major difference in our plot decks. I still play 1 copy of Confiscation.
Can't leave home without it.
Yeah, because if Eddie gets milked, you need to get it off as soon as possible. That is the only way currently to remove an attachment in this deck for me. I don't have anything else.
I play Aria's Gift out of my start decks for a while. I've been known in the meta for using it, and people put it in and out of their decks. It's always a great surprise. I was surprised by some a while back, which was great. I love that event, but banner going like super aggro, using a banner was no room for Aria's Gift. Plus, it doesn't get rid of the attachment; it moves it around. But I mean, who cares if you're Tumblestone Knight or Winterfell Steward is actually milk, right? So that's another Stark way. It's a Stark way that's fun. We're talking about surprises, but for my aggro play of this deck, there was no reason for me to play anything else. It's Confiscation, and I'm going to do it the Brotherhood Without Manners way, saying if you confiscate a milk and they actually draw another one and they put it on a character, there's enough of these good characters in there that you can live with it.
That is true. I wholeheartedly agree with you, sir. My other turn 1 plot is summons. I actually play summons turn 1, I would say 85-90% of the time. I tend to play my noble cause later in the game, so like the mid game, turn 3, turn 4, depending on the way the board's going. I usually tend to open with the summons because looking at the way the deck is, there are tons of unique characters and tons of powerful unique characters, and I like to make sure they stay on the board and not have to really deal with the early military early military defense. So in order to shore that up, say I set up Asha, I use summons, and if I pull another Asha, that's great. Or if I find another character, another one of those great uniques, those great powerhouses in this deck, then now I know that I have it in my hand as an option moving forward. With only 4 gold, you're likely not going to get to play it that same turn a lot of the time, unless you have some godlike economy right out of the gates where you have like a Rose Road and set up, and then you drop down your Heart Tree Grove as well or something like that. So don't be worried if, let's say, you summon Victorian Greyjoy turn 1 and don't play him out till turn 3 or 4. Let your opponent go nuts trying to intrigue the shit out of your hand to get him and blow their load on that, and just worry about your end of the game, because you're always going to draw another Victorian in my eyes anyways, or another one of whatever that character is that they just went nuts to grab.
Hey, somebody's telling me you're not doing your work. You're not checking the chat, man.
I can't check the chat at the same time.
See? What the hell's the point?
Oh, is it Guillaume?
Yeah, of course. It's the other half of the French guys.
He doesn't like gates in the deck. 50% is low odds. Yeah, that's fine. And he's also saying, where's Jory too? He's saying all the stuff that you're saying. You guys are just double teaming on me.
No. See, you see, that's not what you're misunderstanding. It's very funny that we're actually agreeing on something right now.
I agree. And he has a good point, though. He's saying, explain Raiders from Pike versus the third Tumblestone. And that is another one of my tweaks going forward when I take this deck into the tournament.
He came to this video late, and now he wants us to go back. I've been teasing you for the last, hour and a half, almost 2 hours, that Raiders from Pike, boo. So get with the program. Go back and watch the beginning of the video. You're slowing us down, buddy.
Anyways, so we've got 1 copy of Summons. That's my reason why. And then getting into the interesting, juicy stuff, as Rob St. John likes to say, I play a copy of The Long Winter as my 2-claimer.
Whoa, bro, so I'm impressed.
A 4/2/2. There are a bunch of reasons why I do this. One is Winterfell. So if it's a turn where I feel uncomfortable about something that my opponent might be brewing, and let's say I think he's gonna rock a put to the sword on me or whatever, and I want to use Winterfell and still be able to save my character or whatever have you. Tons of different opportunities or reasons why having a winter plot would be nice. Then it affords me that opportunity. But at the same time, if I need that extra power, it's a 2-claim plot. If my board's set up nicely and I have ice out and I have a winter's coming in hand and I go straight military, then I'm killing effectively 4 characters. And the gold on it is still pretty good. Yes, it kind of is counterintuitive because I'm playing, or supposed to be playing Power Rush, and I'm, losing a power for playing this plot. But I think the benefits far outweigh the negatives of playing the Long Winter in the plot deck.
Listen, last Gen Con, we had a champion at Gen Con who eventually said, whoever plays, I don't think he bashed people who played the Long Winter, but it kind of came out that way because he said, I would never play that plot. It's bad. I prefer having 4 initiative over 2. And I think isn't there a difference in the reserve? I think the reserve is 5 on Winter is Coming, and
this is 4.
This one is 4, right? Yeah. So I can understand that there are a few times where the reserve it'll hit you hard.
Hmm.
In a start deck, very seldom. I, in general, prefer having the extra economy. And my plot decks, when they're aggro, they're very, very low on economy. So that 4 gold, going from 3 to 4 is very important.
Hmm.
I'm actually surprised and impressed that someone else sees it that way. And
Hmm.
removing a power from one of my characters when I'm actually probably outrushing you,
Hmm.
especially if I've nullified your board, and or like you said, the way you play it, you're going all out power, renown, whatnot. You don't care removing a power, and you're actually slowing your opponent down.
Hmm.
So that whole trade-off, and like I say, there are a few plots I'll use to win initiative when I need to. So to me, that initiative thing in this deck wasn't important. I love the Long Winter, and this deck has been one of the decks I've loved it the most with because I could play Long Winter turn 2 or turn 3,
Hmm.
and having only 4 gold on it plus maybe a location or two doesn't hurt me as much that if I would have played a 3 gold plot.
Hmm.
So no, totally agree. Long Winter, same. It's in for sure.
Okay. Now, here's where things get a little bit interesting. So there is a Valor in the deck as just a reset. I rarely even make it far enough to play this. However, there are times when games get out of hand for whatever reason, and I do need that board wipe. And again, that was more so just to test it out. I still don't think that Valor is 100% necessary. I would still even prefer a Wildfire in my eyes, but I don't know. What? How do you feel about the Valor play in a deck like this?
I fully understand the Valor, and I actually, when Valor came out, added it, played with it in this deck, and since then removed it.
Yeah.
Um, Valor is a great card. It's a powerful effect. It's a smart card. People are complaining about the design, saying the gold is too low,
Hmm.
which is true, but that's what makes it be not in everybody's deck,
Right.
right? That's one of the things that I like is you guys played 1.0. I haven't, but from what I understand, Valor was maybe not in every deck, but was everywhere.
Hmm.
Now it's just an extra tool to add in a toolbox. I don't like Valor in this deck, not only because of the 2 gold, which is hard, but because of the zero plan. It's powerful, it's a wipe, but I was getting all the aggressiveness and the aggro out of my deck before Valor,
Hmm.
so I went back to Wildfire.
Yeah, and I think and
I,
that's what I would prefer as well as a
I've been
Wildfire.
loving Valor out of Reigns decks. If you're playing Reigns of Castamere, you flip Valor, and you actually have enough saves or enough stuff to play more intrigue icons and win by 5, you're flipping another plot, and then all of a sudden you got claim.
Hmm.
So you're actually getting some work out of it. In this deck, you're killing. Oh man, you're killing, but I'm already reducing your board. So what's the point? So there were a few times where I got clipped by my own Valor, had to use my save, so I kept my board, but then I used my save, and that means your kill is that much stronger. And I just went back to Wildfire.
Yep.
You're right, there are many games where I don't need to reset. But if I can Wildfire and keep working, my stealth is stronger on a small board. Then all of a sudden, my winter's coming is stronger on a small board. My ice, my put to the sword, Victorians intimidate. It's just this is a deck that works well on a small board. So to me, it was Wildfire.
Yeah, and I think there's definitely a lot of other options other than Valor. The hope in having this is that I would be able to survive it a lot better than my opponent, but people are obviously prepped for it. And in 1.0, you would prep for having 2 resets in the game in most cases.
I can
Now,
see that coming eventually.
yeah,
I think 2.0 will get there.
now I think prepping for at least one is the way to go. And a lot of the times when I get to Valor being my last plot, if the game goes 7, it hurts me more than it helps me. So I would prefer to have a card where I know that when I play it, I mean, yes, it might not be the most effective way of limiting my opponent, but at least it's not going to limit myself as well. Despite having the saves in the deck and despite having, Victorian and all the dupes and bodyguards or whatever, there are a lot of times where Valor hurts me or will hurt me more than it will hurt my opponent. And so that's one reason why I am looking to replace this with something else. Like you said, more than likely it's going to be Wildfire. But this isn't a deck that goes very horizontal anyways because of the cost of the characters. So I think in having Wildfire, I won't be losing too much versus playing Valor. That's just me.
Yeah. It's still a great card, and I can
Yeah.
see people playing it. If it's on your plot deck, you're obviously going to play the deck differently. I mean, I had a lot of single one-ofs and different characters, and our mix was a little different. And I think that kind of helped me when I did have Valor in there.
Hmm.
There were a few times when I Valored early, and it worked. But there are other situations where your opponent has every advantage for you to Valor, and you don't. Whereas you're right, this deck works very well on a small board.
Hmm.
So even if you're lagging behind, you can wallfire and come back from it, and you'll get those great characters. Your stealth will start working better and or have more impact on the board,
Hmm.
and that kill, man. Like I say, Winter's Coming's in there, Ice, Put to the Sword. It's all stuff that's great on a small board. Plus, you already have a 2 plane in there.
Right. One thing I can say though is if you're godlike at reading your opponent, excuse me, and knowing if your opponent is going to play an offensive valor and you're not set up to even handle that one, then you can play yours on the same turn and effectively have them get rid of a character and a dupe as well, and that can kind of set them back. So there are advantages to playing or positives for doing it, but I think that's very niche to say that you're going to play valor just to mirror your opponent's valor in games when you might be behind if they play theirs.
If your whole point is that, you
Yeah.
gotta play Varys's Riddle. 'Cause
Yeah.
then you get 5 gold, 6 initiative, and 1 claim.
Yep.
Right? Like I say, one of the reasons why I'm not playing it, or I took it out of this deck, was because I'm playing Counting Coppers. I wanted to refill my hand and not having the draw location out of start, and having only a little bit of a draw from the characters. I was realizing I was emptying my hand, especially if, there's these great games where I had Ice, Put to the Sword, or Winter is Coming in my hand, and sometimes 2 copies, like one of each. That's a great hand for me to start aggressively. But that also means that by turn 3, I have an empty hand.
Yep.
So Counting Coppers was more important for me for 2 gold. Plus, it has decent initiative. So it kind of meant that Valor had to go, and going back to Wildfire made the deck a little bit more stable.
I agree with you. Big time, actually. That's one that I've been mulling over a lot. And also, this last card is almost 100% getting changed, but I will share it with you guys anyways. This plot has been absolutely useless for me, and it is Wardens of the North. If this were a fealty deck, then yes, always useful. But because there are so many Greyjoy characters out on the board and also a neutral character in Littlefinger, I find that I never actually get to use it the way that it's intended. So most times it's just been used for the 5 gold and the 5 initiative, and then it's just a blank 5/5/1. So I think that there's definitely a better alternative to this card. I still haven't really decided what it's going to be. I kind of want to play Clash of Kings, but then I'm forfeiting 1 gold. I'm gaining 4 initiative, but forfeiting that 1 gold, I think, is too big of a hit to me. So I'm trying to find something else to get rid of Wardens of the North.
I need to say one thing. You've heard it before. Jabba says no!
Yeah, I
What are
know.
you talking about? This is not a start deck. It's a start Kraken deck.
I know. I
love the plot. Personally, it's one of the best in-fashion plots of the game.
don't know, man. I can't
You
get
want
any
to read
use
it
out of
again? You want me to show you that it's got that little Stark wolf in the logos?
I know, but I just don't get use out of it.
That's what I'm saying. There's no way. I'm not saying.
Oh,
take it
okay,
out. I'm
okay.
saying, what are you thinking of
No,
even trying
you're right,
it? There's
you're right,
no
you're
way
right.
you're going to get it off. You're playing Kraken because you had such great characters that you're adding to the great characters out of start. Yes, it's everything that it does and how you can cheat in characters that don't have icons is super smart. But like I say, Jabba says no.
All right, so
You're
what would be
probably
your replacement? Because like I said, this is 100% getting changed. I have
Well,
got zero use out of
The way
it.
you're telling me that you're playing the deck, Clash of Kings is probably a good way to play it.
Okay.
You could try it out at least. Agreed.
So here's a Clash of Kings 491. After you win a power challenge, move 1 power from the losing opponent's faction card to your own. So that's on offense or defense.
That's what I was going to say. Remember, you also kind of just negated, especially if you choose yourself to go second, they can't win a power challenge against you. Sorry, because you're playing Star Kraken and you got a bazillion power icons. And you're going to get power off of them on defense. So that's one of the options you can actually think of. Our plot decks differ, right? So I have Counting Coppers right then and there that you don't have. I'm playing Trading instead of you're calling the banners, because that way it's straight economy.
Hmm.
I don't have to worry. I'm giving them economy. They'll probably end up playing characters that I'm going to kill anyway,
Listen to
right?
this guy.
That's what I'm trying to think. And or
Okay.
if things go out of hand, I'm playing Wallfire.
Hmm.
But it's also one of them sure ways. Like calling the banners is a great card, and like I say, and Billy will probably in the chat saying that he's fucking annoyed with hearing me want to play calling as they were everywhere, even in some aggressive decks.
Hmm.
But you can't guarantee that you're going to get Winterfell out on a calling the banners turn.
Hmm. That's true.
He's actually one of the guys who actually converted me to trading. I don't want to play trading in every deck. He sees it in a lot more decks than I see. But if you're playing Winterfell, you kind of want trading. So that's my econ plot. That's my main change. And I'm going aggressive.
Hmm.
I'm getting rid of nuisances. I'm giving you trading. You're probably putting in more stuff. So I'm either Wallfire Ring to claim and or March to the Wall followed by that.
Okay.
How can you not have marched in there?
Because I wasn't focusing on wiping the board. So
No, but you're putting in put to the sword to get rid of stuff to make sure you win power challenges. You could always get rid of a chump, and then you make sure that.
but the thing is though, because my gold is based on 4 and 5 gold plots, a lot of the times I don't really have an extra chud to just throw away like that because I'm forfeiting a military challenge and I'm getting rid of my chuds in the military. So if I march, I'm going to be marching a named unique character.
But you have so many. But no, okay, I see your point. So right now we're thinking Clash of Kings.
Clash of Kings, or the other option. The other option was
Do you know what?
close
Straight-
call.
Close call is a good. Yeah, that's a good one. That's one of those ones I was going to say. And or straight up, just after opening, and there's plenty of options. After opening Thrones DB,
Hmm.
I just see Song of Summer, 5 income, 3 initiative, 1 claim, 6 reserve.
Yep.
Summer. While there are no winter plot cards revealed, each of your characters.
It's +1 strength.
Yeah.
So Victorian intimidate. Yeah.
Just saying. Possible. Can we keep going? We could probably keep going. What's the best summer plot that came out of the core set?
Calm.
Calm over Westeros.
Hmm.
That's a good card. Oh, maybe we keep going. Okay, we're going to lose some gold. Building orders. 4/1/1. Reserve 7. When revealed, search the top 10 cards of your deck for an attachment or a location. Are you relying on your attachment? Yes, you are, because you're a dumbass, and you actually play your Raider from Pike, even if Jala says no. But you could go away and get an ice.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of options.
Let's keep going. No, I know, but see, that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. Is there's so many things you could have tested, but
Sneak attack.
no. Jabba says no. I can't believe people are still playing that bad plot.
Hey, it depends when you play it, man. It depends when you play it.
Yeah, out of the core set, maybe. It
Or
has
what?
good
Okay,
initiative.
here's
maybe.
one. Winter Festival.
Yes, probably. You're going power. This is passive power. Passive power right now is very strong in the game.
Hmm.
It's a winter plot.
Ties into Winterfell.
So, yes, for you defensively,
Hmm.
for you to get your stuff anyways, and or you're saying that you're expecting to see maybe a few more Stark players around. Stark will come back. Then you'd have 2 winter plots. Because you're not playing. You and I, we're both dumbasses. We're not playing Nightmares, which is one of the best neutral cards in the whole game right now.
Yeah, I asked you about that. I did. I said, instead of Foot to the Sword, Nightmares.
No, I know. And it's a great card. It doesn't work in the way I play this deck. It's probably one of the better neutral cards with neutral events right now in the game.
Hmm.
Having 2 winter plots may help you out in that respect. I don't know if you've actually tested against some more Stark decks, but
Not too many. I haven't played against too many, no. So I think that 7th slot is going to be I'm going to be interchanging it a lot with just other 5 income plots, and 5 income winter plots. So Snowed Under might not be as useful, but I can see Winter Festival being useful. Summer plots, like we said, counting coppers can be very useful. Close Call, I think, might be the most useful, just because, again, there's so many characters that could get killed early, despite us having all these things to keep them alive. And by playing Close Call and getting them out of our dead pile and drawing a card, you might even just draw back into that character. So That is one that I want to test the most. I think is Close Call, and then my second seventh plot that I want to test out is Winter Festival for sure.
Listen, I love Close Call. I play it in a lot of decks. I don't know that this deck needs it because, like I said, it's the same principle. Maybe I guess you're right. It fits in that same bracket as Confiscation.
Mm-hmm.
If they have one milk, you're getting rid of it with Confiscation. If they have a second, you're screwed. Close Call, I guess you could always reset and bring that character back because you'll end up playing it if you drew into another copy. I see it more as there's a lot of variety here, and if you got to clip one of my characters, good for you. Hopefully I work through it and I'll be back. And if you clipped him late and he had a lot of power on him, good for you. I probably can't win this game. I'll win the next one. You know, I don't know. Close Call for me doesn't help you with your end goal as much. It's a safety net. It's important in certain decks with the Valor. It is good, but like you say, you have some saves. Mind you, I have Jory that you don't have.
Yep.
We have the same amount of bodyguards and Iron Minds, but I don't know.
All right. Well, for now, I'll leave it as Winter Festival to round out our plots at 7. This deck is. I will upload it as I usually do with the deck building videos as part 1. We still have to cover your deck, but in order to make the videos much shorter,
we just covered it as we were talking.
We did, but I still want to get it up on screen. So what we're gonna do is
just fit the link, no, in the bottom.
Oh yeah, or we can just throw a link up to yours.
I mean, we talked about it for so long. I'll send you a copy. You can either recreate or something, add a link or something on the bottom, and
yeah, no. What I'll do is in the description of this video, once it uploads to YouTube proper, I will put a link to Dan's version of the deck, which is more aggro than mine is. Mine is primarily power, and then it has the little salt and pepper specks of aggro in it as well. Next to Dan's link, as well as a link to his podcast, which I'm going to get you to plug yourself. That sounds weird, but I'm going to get you to promote yourself. I'm going to get you to promote yourself again in just a minute.
Yes,
give yourself a shout out. The link to your podcast again, which I will also include in the caption. And then moving forward, Joe from Cincinnati and myself have been in talks again. We're trying to get a pack review together. Hopefully we can get Dan in on that as well. English is supposed to be my first language.
You want to do this in French?
I mean,
I can handle it.
But I don't think anybody would understand it. So, but no, we're definitely going to try to get that in the works. And then my other plan is, or hope is, to get games up streamed of Throne Techie. I'm trying to really push the Throne Techie train. I think it's a great website. I mean, FFG probably does not agree with that. No, they definitely don't agree with that. But who's
FFG again?
I don't
Doesn't
know,
matter.
Some guys that make cards or something. I don't know. But yeah, I know that they're probably not excited about me, pushing that website. But again, it is great. It affords a lot of people the opportunity to test out the game and test decks when they can't play in person. So if you live somewhere like I do, where there's only a handful of players immediately close to me, I usually have to drive about an hour to play with most of my buddies. It is nice to have that alternative. So again, that's thronetechie.net. You can find me on there. I'm Throne Runner, and I will let Dan plug himself.
Cool. Well, I'm DanSolo from the Kings in the North podcast. Don't say it too fast. I'm only half of the team. We got Billy also on the podcast. Check us out. We have 4 episodes so far. We can be found on kingsinthenorth.com. We have a website. We can be found on Facebook, Kings in the North or Kings in the North podcast. And we are on SoundCloud, which is where we do our podcast, Kings in the North. Or you can type in podcast and we'll pop up. Like I said, our 4th episode, thanks to you guys, thanks a lot. A Lancel, Voltron, and Valar, which was because Valar had just come out or was about to come out, had just hit more than 250 plays.
Nice.
Thank you. Hopefully we keep working on that. Billy and I are supposed to record another episode this upcoming Tuesday. It always takes me a while because I'm super not tech natural or tech savvy to edit it out, so probably another week after that. But we got episode 5 coming up. Check us out. Hope you enjoy a bunch of guys talking Thrones and being stupid and having fun with this game.
All right, guys. Thank you for watching. As usual, hope you've enjoyed the deck building video. As always, don't take it too seriously. You know, there's a lot of cards in there that you can definitely put your own flavor on. But this is just something fresh and exciting to play
says no.
in the upcoming future. And as always, let me know how it fares for you. I'm hoping to have this as also uploaded in podcast format for those of you who prefer to listen to it on your commutes versus watching it on YouTube for whatever reason. I don't know. Totally up to you. But glad to be back and super excited to get more content out your way. And if you haven't noticed, we are moving a little bit in the direction of Star Wars Destiny. You know, I'm trying to dabbling in that a little bit, trying to test it out. It's been a very fun game. Dan obviously plays it, or maybe he just has that one card. I don't know. He seems to only have one card. So
yeah, man, it's a great game.
yeah, so maybe we'll get a little bit more of that as well moving forward. But as always, thanks again for watching. Everybody have a fantastic night for those of you who are watching, and hope to see you back soon. And don't forget to check out the caption or the whatever description for all the links to everything. And as always, love you guys. Everybody take care. Peace.